the other sections.
Okay.
And to our distinguished jurors, our beautiful conveners, and to all the brothers and sisters, free the land. 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 We want to express our sincere thanks for the jurists and the conveners who have joined us, not only as comrades, but as brothers and sisters from Algeria, from Brazil, from Azania, South Africa, from Martinique, our Native American, indigenous population, from Venezuela, from France, from Mexico, from the U.S. Empire, from Arkansas, from Massachusetts. I don't even know the cities in Massachusetts. But from Massachusetts, from New York, from Atlanta, New Africa, from Guadeloupe, as well from Haiti. This is an important moment in history. It is September the 2nd of 2007. We have convened together a people's court. In some sense, all courts come together in moments of history. But we see this as and they come together to deal with history, to resolve human conflicts, human episodes. But this court, which is a people's court, is a special court because we rise above the jaded and racist limitations of American imperialism and the shadow of Dred Scott or racism which lives in the American court system. Just doing this, just being here, does manifest a sense of accomplishment, a sense of liberation. It is indeed a significant challenge to the limitations imposed by U.S. imperialism. But final people's victory, or final victory of the peoples, is not yet here. Final victory requires a determination to find the truth, the will to recognize and to face the truth, and the courage to speak the truth. To ourselves, to speak the truth to power and to the world. Liberation requires that we live the truth. And we are ever confident that truth crushed to the earth shall surely rise again. Finding, facing, speaking, and living the truth demands that we make history. It is not just enough that we be victims of history. We must make history. We must be masters of our own destiny. Today we make new history. This chapter has already begun. Our new African people, our blacks, people on the Gulf Coast, have refused to be victims. They have become survivors. And they begin on August the 29th. They begin to resist and to survive. And so we've had the great fortune to join together with this assembly. The heroism, or the heroism, the sheroism of the brothers and sisters of Katrina. It began with their resistance. And we have had the opportunity to share their sorrow, to share their tears. We have seen before us both men and women cry. And we can imagine the tears of our children who were not here. It begins with the resistance of Roderick Neal, left to die in the jail in New Orleans. It began with his swimming and fighting and struggling to save himself amongst filthy waters which had feces and human waste in it, It began with his struggle as he was dehydrated, as he was sick of diabetes, and he had high blood pressure. It began as Roderick said that he would not die. It began as his comrades, the inmates, who they called thugs and looters. It began as these young brothers helped carry him from a jail that the guards would not carry him from. It began as the guards ate food and refused to feed these other inmates, and as Roderick and his other comrades refused to die. This history began, this history that we make, that we are not just mere victims of, begin as we look to Charlene Smith. And as we imagine the ridiculousness of this criminal system that puts people who are trying to survive in jail, criminal themselves who put people in jail for allegedly committing crime. It begins as Charlene Smith goes to jail for many months because she cashed a check in order to survive and to feed her children, as she was mistreated in these cells, and as the other sisters were mistreated in these cells, as the inmates were mistreated, as she said, 20 people was crushed into cells in small places. It begins as our brothers and sisters are trapped in the Superdome, and as they are at the convention center, and they are spending days and nights wanting food, wanting water, as they have to defecate in strange places, as they have to look at people die, and as they cover up bodies of old people who die on the scene. It begins certainly as people are jailed in Orleans Parish. It begins as guards beat these prisoners and mace them because they ask for food. It begins as Charlene sleeps on the floor and can't find a bed. It begins and it merges together some class differences, because it must be said that most of those abandoned and left in New Orleans were the poor, who could not escape. But it showed those, like some of those, like we have heard from those who have tried to go to school afterwards, and they who called themselves quote unquote middle class realized that they were no better than their brothers or sisters, because we are all only one day or so away from a paycheck which will put us in the same absolute abject poverty and misery. In many ways, this Katrina is a great uniter, if we listen to the voices of history. But because of the experiences of Roderick and Charlene, we have come before this honorable court, and we have asked you to look at this evidence, and we understand that we are functioning under the so-called Roman, and I hesitate to say that because I wish we had a better word, under the so-called Roman statute. But that Roman statute says that we have to bring to you clear and convincing evidence of the evidence, material evidence of the crimes which we speak of, and we have. And so we refer you to the evidence that you have heard on the subject of prisoners, and we tell you that this constitutes a violation of the charge number 4, which we have brought, a violation of human rights to be free from torture and other cruel and inhumane and degrading treatment or punishments.